Alright, as promised, here's the lesson for getting you up to speed with your legato or hammer-ons and pull-offs. Correct way to position your hand. First of all, here's the way I recommend practicing it. Just take your arm. Obviously I'm standing up, but whether you're sitting down or standing up, just take your arm and hang it down to where your shoulder's completely relaxed. And what you're going to do is turn your palm up and then just pull your hand straight up. Now wherever it lands, typically it's going to be for most people somewhere between the 5th fret and probably the 10th fret. 7th fret for me is good. That's going to be the most comfortable place for you to play. So I want you to go ahead and start practicing in that position. Okay, so not way up here on the neck because you're going to be a little bit too cramped, and obviously not way down here on the neck because we're a little bit too stretched apart at first. We can work our way back down this way. But essentially, just start off practicing in the most comfortable area of the neck for you. Okay, now, something that's going to be kind of important for most people depending on how large your hands are, but if you'll notice, my knuckles, if I drew a line across right here, they're going to be basically parallel to the neck. So I don't want my hand hanging out like this and reaching where my pinky is straight. Okay? So probably not grabbing over the top of the neck with your thumb like this. Just if you do it just like I said, pull your hand straight up and your knuckles should be parallel. Now if that's the case, you can leave your distal joints, which are the joints furthest away from you, pretty much neutral. And then what you're going to do is basically pretend like there's a pin going through these knuckles, and it's really only the big joints that are going to move. Keep the other ones passive. Okay. The larger the joint, the easier it is going to be for you to ingrain whatever you're doing into muscle memory. So there's a variety of exercises that you can do. If you're a beginner, then you're going to want to do just rote exercises. If you've been playing for a while, then I typically recommend that you do these with some type of lick versus just doing random exercises, because unless the songs that you play have just random exercises, or if that's just kind of what you like doing, most of the time you're going to be playing actual phrases. So scales or phrases, but this is something very simple that you could do, is just to make sure you get all your fingers involved, is to play a pattern, like for instance, a B, a C sharp, and a D on your high E string, and just hammer. And when you're hammering, there's not really that much to it. You're just trying to make sure that you're basically making very solid contact with the fret itself. Pulling off is not the opposite of hammering. What you're going to do is just basically, if you move the big joint like this without straightening out your finger or curling your finger too much, you should be coming off at just the right angle to give your fingerprint basically enough friction to give you a nice clear pull off without bending the string. If you notice that you're bending the strings, you're going to start getting this meowing kind of sound, and you'll be out of tune, so we don't want to do that. And also make sure that your index finger is put, but not too much pressure, because what will end up happening is if you find that you're squeezing too hard, you probably will start stretching the string down. And what you'll simply do is just hammer a pull off. Notice I only picked one time, or you don't have to pick it all. What I can do is then try the F sharp, G, and A notes, and you'll notice that I'm using a half step, whole step pattern on the B string, so I'm doing a different group of fingers. Now what you'll notice is if you can get that down, then basically if you can just work between two different sets of strings, that's going to be a great exercise for you. So, and the reason why that's so good is because we're going between first, second pinky, and then first, third, fourth finger pinky, and it's giving you control, some dexterity. The trick typically when you're playing guitar, to keep things smooth is not being on one string, you'll find out. It's when you change strings. So you want to make sure that once I go to change strings, that when I get to this string, I'm going to go ahead and pick that note, and then come back down. And I want that as smooth as possible, so you just gradually work that up, and you want no tempo and volume fluctuations if you can help it. And then of course we can go up. Okay. Now what I might incorporate is maybe another string change. So and basically all I'm doing is descending and coming right back. Now for this lesson, you know, there are people who hammer all the time, whether they're ascending or descending. If you're not a really advanced player though, or at least, you know, somewhat advanced, I would recommend against that technique for now. In other words, the hammers from nowhere, where you just hammer onto a string, because there's some other issues that are going to happen. It's going to be very difficult to keep the other notes from ringing out. So for now, especially if you're just starting off, I would hammer on the way up and then pull off on the way down. And a lot of times you can play through licks, and you know, you wouldn't have to use your right hand at all. If you notice, I'm not going to pick. I'm just going to. Okay. And you can hammer all that. It's just a little bit tricky to keep the notes from not ringing out. But you know, basically when you're starting, just keep everything clean. And then you'll have the whole neck down. You know, pretty, it's not too difficult. The trick is just to keep everything smooth, relax, take your time, and try to keep everything clean. Okay, hope that helped out. We'll deal with some more advanced concepts shortly. Thanks.